Okay, so hey everybody, my name is Delight Voss. I am an empath turned spiritual medium. So I use my empath skills every day to do angel readings for people, as well as Reiki and healing, and now things like this. Teaching is also a big part of what I do. And my hair falling on my face is also a big part of what I do. I don't know why, that always seems to happen. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about me, because I know most of you guys are new to my Facebook group, Empath Oasis, and you're new to my work. So I only discovered I was an empath about 3 years ago, and I started my business about 1 year ago. So it took me about 2 years to go from brand new empath, had no clue what I was doing, to being full-time empath and working and making my living as an empath. Using my empath skills to make a living. So that's just pretty interesting how things can happen really fast once you wake up and you start using the tools that you have available to you instead of fighting them like a lot of us do when we first, or before we realize we're an empath, or maybe after we realize we're an empath. So what happened for me, though, is about 3 years ago, I found out what an empath was, and I realized, oh, this really fits for me. I think I'm an empath. And I started to meditate. I started to go to yoga. I started to do a lot of things to develop that. And it was really fun at first. It was like, I was curious, like, ooh, let me try this, and let me try this. And that's when I discovered angels. So you'll see a lot of that from me and in our group, that people talk about angels a lot. Because when you're an empath, it's a lot easier for you to tap into angel energy as it is for you to tap into other people's energy. So that's a huge benefit of being an empath and having that ability. And angels have been really, really helpful for me in managing my empath abilities to become a happy empath instead of an overwhelmed empath. And so after about a year, though, I was kind of like dabbling in it and trying out some different skills. I took a psychic development class to learn, some courses and stuff to learn how to use these skills. And then all of a sudden, I'm not sure, there was multiple ththings that happened all of a sudden. And I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard. Like, I can't, I felt like I didn't have support. Because at the time, I didn't have a Facebook group with thousands of people in it. I didn't have any friends who were on this path. I had my energy mentor, but she cost probably $200 an hour at the time to talk to. So I wasn't able to talk to her very much, maybe every 6 months or something. And so I just kind of fell away from it. And then that's when things got really ugly. I got really depressed. Things started going really badly for me. And I actually ended up realizing that I was having some thoughts of dying, and I knew that wasn't a good thing. So I got on some antidepressants, and then I was feeling a lot better, and I still didn't know what to do with myself, with my life. And finally I talked to my energy mentor again, and she's like, the only way out is through. There's no way for you to skip this. You don't just, like, if you try and just quit, you go, oh, this is too hard, and you try to quit, like, that's what happens. It gets worse instead of better. Like, the only way out is through. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So then I decided to stop fighting it and just go with it. And that's when I started doing readings professionally and grew it into a business. And that's how we find ourselves here. So that's a couple of reasons why I have the Empath Oasis Facebook group, because I wanted to create a community for people like I was couple years ago, where I had no clue and I had no support. So I'm hoping to give you guys a clue and a support about how to be an empath. And I also have a paid community that's smaller and a lot more focused. You get a lot more of my time and attention. And it's called Confident Empath Community. So that is for the same purpose, that you would have ongoing support, ongoing training about how to first just kind of manage your gifts to get them to a manageable level. And then second, how you can actually thrive as an empath and learn how to, maybe you can do Reiki, maybe you can read cards, maybe you can read people's auras, maybe you're a healer, maybe you're a shaman, who knows? Like, all these things are possible when you develop your empath skills. So that's all the things that we work on in the Confident Empath community, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that towards the end here. So I want to get started. We have several people who have submitted questions ahead of time, and right now I see just Lori A is here, but I need a question. Lori, if you have a question, you can go ahead and submit it into the chat now. Otherwise, I'll go to the pre-recorded, the pre-submitted questions. So the first one I got was from Eileen P. And she said she has to work right now, so that's okay. She's going to get the recording of this later in her email. She says, I need to know what career direction I should be following. Okay. So Eileen's wondering about career direction. So as an empath, this is really tricky sometimes with your career because we don't fit very well into a traditional work situations a lot of the time. Because I have been so much happier since I quit my full-time job. Oh, I didn't mention that before. I was a teacher. I was a full-time Spanish teacher. And that is a terrible job if you're an empath, like an out-of-control empath. Like you're attached to all the energy of everybody around you. You know, there's kids around you, they're stressed, they've got hormones. I was in middle school, so they're going through all this stuff. And then the structure of it, of like, I have to be here at a certain time and I can't pee until this time and I can't eat until this time. That kind of stuff. I mean, it sounds like I'd be hard on myself about it and I'd be like, oh, just grow up. You just this is how your job is. This is what you have to do. But oh my gosh, that stuff made me miserable. So I think that's something to consider if you're an empath. Like, what does your job look like? Is it like that? Is it really rigid and structured to where you can't take a break if you need to? Or you can't go to the bathroom when you need to, or you have to be here, you know, at a very specific time and it's hard to take time off if you need to. Generally those are very difficult circumstances for empaths to handle. So that just comes up. I'm not sure if that's the case with you, Eileen, with your work situation, but that's just in general. I always set that intention. Oh, let me back up for a second. I always set that intention for these Q&A calls that whatever questions I answer will help the person that asked the question and also help the people who are listening. So if you're listening, waiting for your question to be answered, I'm setting an intention that you're going to get some nuggets out of the questions that I'm answering for other people. And that always happens. People are amazed that they'll get their questions answered that they didn't even ask, because the angels help with that. You know, they know whose questions I should be answering and what I should be saying. So I'm just sending through what they sent me. All right, so what else? Let me draw a card for you, Eileen. See if there's any other details about your work situation. Okay, maybe I won't draw a card because now I'm getting more for everybody, and Eileen too, that if you're thinking about your work situation, your career, your job, you want to think in terms of, what do I want? Like, do an exercise, sit with your journal or your computer or whatever you write with, and ask yourself, ask your heart, what do I want my perfect, if I had a perfect work day, what would it look like? What do I want my perfect work day to look like? And then just write freely, don't censor yourself at all, and see what it comes up with. And maybe it's nothing like what you're doing right now. Like, I think when I was teaching full time, I don't think my perfect work day was teaching. I think my perfect work day was doing more like what I'm doing now, where I was online, I was pretty flexible, I was working from home, you know, things like that were my perfect work day. So that's going to show you what your path is. And you can have all of those things, I promise you. Like, even if it seems like, for me to go to being like a full-time teacher, to doing what I do now, it seems like a huge stretch, but I was able to do it in just a few months and survive and thrive doing this as a career. So don't tell yourself it's impossible, because it's not impossible, especially because you have those desires for a reason, and they're guiding you to fulfill your life purpose. So, all right, now I'm going to pull one more card for you, and then we're going to move on. So this is a card for Eileen. Angels, what is Eileen? Oh, see, I don't know if you can see that, but it just fell out of the deck. Okay, this is cool. This is Archangel Ariel, and it says, you needn't go through your current challenges alone. Help is nearby. Negative thoughts create self-fulfilling prophecies. So call on your angels and your guides for assistance with this. You don't have to figure all of this out by yourself. And Archangel Ariel is a great one to call on. She is an angel that helps with manifesting. I talked about it on my blog today at delightboss.com if you're interested in learning more about her. Okay, so Lori says, where's a good place to learn about crystals and buy crystals? Okay, great question. let's see. I mean, I can tell you local places in Denver that are great to learn about crystals and buy crystals. I personally haven't ordered any online because I like to go into, like, you'll find metaphysical or spiritual bookstores will have a lot of crystals. And the way that I like to choose them, this is another way that I use my empath abilities. I like to choose them by something that's called psychometry. And I just pick them up and touch them. And I'll try this, like whatever ones I feel drawn to, I'll pick them up. And then if I feel like I really like this one, I'll get it. And then at some stores, you know, they'll have little cards that give you information like the metaphysical connections of the crystals, but sometimes they don't. So let's see, I'm looking at my shelf. There's a couple of books about crystals that are really great to look things up. Sorry, my hair is driving me crazy. I need some hairspray. There's a couple of places to look things up about crystals. One is called the Book of Stones. That's a really cool book about crystals. And there's one also called the Crystal Bible, I believe. And both of those are really good books to learn more about the meanings of crystals and how to use them. But like, I choose them by the touch and what appeals to me. I don't know, like in my mind, I don't always have memorized like, oh, citrine is for abundance and luck and happiness. You know, I just feel it and like, that's what I need. So that's what I get, if that makes sense. So you don't have to know everything like in your mind. You can follow your intuition and practice your empathic gifts to choose your crystals. So I hope that helps. I haven't really found any good websites online to like look up the meanings of crystals. Some of them are okay, but I don't know. They have lots of ads and they're kind of like spammy. So I suggest actually getting a book if you're really interested in crystals. Okay, I see Lori has a second question, but let me go back to some pre-submitted questions. So Lori, is that answering your question about crystals? Any follow-ups there? You can go ahead and put it in the chat. And let's see. Okay, so Missy V said she wasn't sure if she could attend, and she said, what can I do to hone in on my gift? Okay, so I wish I could ask you a little bit more information, Missy, about, you know, what kind of gift you feel that you have at this point. You know, are you getting flashes of visions? Are you getting premonitions of things? Are you getting are you picking up on other people's emotions? Are you picking up on other people's physical feelings? Do you feel really affected by like the weather and the energy around you? Like, for example, we just had a full moon. I felt really affected by that full moon. But I would say, first off, because this is kind of a general question, I'm not really sure what you're experiencing so far. And maybe you're not sure what you're experiencing yet either. So I would say to dabble. That's what I did. Just dabble and try some things. Okay, actually, this is what's coming to me. Let me show you something. I don't know if you guys have tried this before, but I just used mine this morning. This is called a pendulum. And you can actually use like a necklace. You don't have to use like a fancy specific pendulum. But you can use this to channel energy and ask yes/no questions. And it's really fun. So that's something you can dabble in, is a pendulum. You can dabble in tarot cards or angel cards. You could dabble in meditation, see if you see visions in your meditation. Yoga, that was a big thing that got me kind of grounded and started with this. You know, just kind of pursue whatever calls to you. Maybe it's Reiki. Maybe you feel interested in studying Reiki. Like, I always felt interested in studying Reiki for many years before I even knew I was an empath. So I knew I wanted to learn how to do Reiki eventually. So I would say that just get curious about it. Go, I wonder how I can hone in on my gifts, and then see what's presented to you. For example, I'll just throw this out there. If you're interested in cards, next week inside the Empaths Facebook group, I'm going to be doing an Oracle card challenge, and it's free. So if that's something that might be interesting to you, you know, keep your eye out for things like that that are free and easy and just easily available, because that's how your guides are going to lead you into the things that can really help you. So just keep asking that question. Just ask your angels, you know, how can I hone in on my gift? and they'll show you. Also, okay, I'm getting dream journaling. That's another thing that helped me a lot, was dream journaling. So that's also something to try. And let me know, guys, if I'm not feeling right now that I want to show you exactly how to use a pendulum, but if you're interested in that, let me know. Either reply to an email of mine or comment in the Facebook group and let me know, and I could do a training on that potentially later if you guys are interested. Okay, Lori says that's what you needed to learn about crystals. Fantastic. Okay, and then let me do one more here from the pre-submitted questions. Let's see here. This was from Aurora. And she said, homeless animals always come into my life. I open my home for them. I love them unconditionally, and then something unfortunate always happens and I lose them. Am I some kind of portal where they come before they leave their physical body? Oh my gosh, Aurora. Yes. I just got a chill when I read that. And so that always validates when I'm doing readings and I'm in this kind of space, when I'm talking and I'm saying something, or you're talking and saying something, I get this huge chill through my body to say yes, to just validate what you're saying. So yeah, that's amazing. Like, that must be so hard to go through, though, that you just like take on animals and then they pass. But yeah, that's like part of your life purpose. I'm getting that you are actually helping assist animals to the other side. Like, they feel so warm and comfortable and safe with you that they can just let go and they can move on to the other side. So I'm sure that's not very fun to go through, but I think you're right on. I mean, one thing, your intuition with that is right on. I mean, I got the biggest shiver when I read that. And so, yeah, I think that really validates you and the intuition that you're getting about yourself and your gifts. So that's really cool. And I'm also getting that this is possible to shift. Like, you don't have to have lots of animals die all the time around you if you feel uncomfortable with that. I mean, if you want to own it and accept it and just be like, this is what I do and this is what happens and I am a loving, supportive portal for these animals, great. If you're kind of like, I don't think I can do this anymore, like some things you can do is just ask your angels and guides for guidance, because it might be something that you can heal inside yourself that might shift your outward experience, if that makes sense. Because yeah, when things happen multiple times like that, it's pretty interesting how what it can be trying to show you. So if you're happy and you're validated with that, then go with it. If you're not happy about it and you're like, I don't want to do this as my life purpose, then ask the guides and your angels to help you understand, like, what am I learning from this? Please show me, what I can learn so I can shift this and maybe have a different experience and maybe have some of these animals live with me longer or, enjoy them longer. So that's so awesome, though. I'm so interested to hear about that. I hope that you keep us posted if that shifts at all, or if you feel comfortable with that role. So I am also really, I notice a lot of animals are drawn to me as well, especially wildlife. So when I go to the mountains here, I live in Denver, Colorado, and we have amazing mountains so close. And when I go up there with different friends and groups of people, I always get comments from people like, I can't believe how much wildlife we've seen on this trip. And I'm always thinking to myself, yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, I always see so much wildlife when I go to the mountains, because it's like they can feel my energy or something and they want to be around it. So I like that. It's really fun. Okay, so let's go to Lori's second question, since she's here live with us. She says, are flash images and premonitions a part of being an empath? Yeah, totally. And I personally don't have a lot of those. I've had them, but I hear a lot of people talking about it, and like, a lot of people have upsetting experiences with premonitions because they get premonitions of something bad or something negative. And it is true that those types of premonitions come through very strongly, so they're easier to pick up. If you haven't been working on your gift and honing your gift, then you're mostly going to get premonitions of negative stuff, if you get any at all, because and you're going to notice them too, because they stand out to you. I actually don't get that many, and this is interesting. I actually don't get that many premonitions anymore since I learned about it, and I realized that you have lots of little premonitions all the time. For example, one night I had a dream about English peas. The peas that come in the very long shell, and you actually like shuck the peas out of them. This was February when I was teaching full time. I had this dream about English peas, and I remembered so vividly when I woke up. I was like, huh, that was kind of weird. And then the next day I went to school, and randomly in February in Colorado, one of the teachers who I wasn't in the teacher's lounge at the same time as her ever. I just happened to go at a weird time of day. And there she was eating English peas. And she's like, do you want some? And she was like shucking them out of the shell and everything. That's like the type of premonitions that I have. And once I started noticing those, I just kind of accepted it. I didn't resist it. I didn't fight it. And it's kind of started to flow for me. So I don't have those upsetting premonitions very often anymore. At least I don't get really strong premonitions as far that like make me feel like I need to do something right away or things like that. I'm sure I would get a premonition if I was in imminent danger, that could help me to save myself, something dramatic like that. But fortunately that hasn't happened. So hopefully that helps. But I do see that a lot, Lori, people posting in the group and talking about getting premonitions and kind of upsetting premonitions. So fortunately for me, that doesn't happen to me right now. All right, so a couple more questions here that were pre-submitted. Okay, this is Jessica H. She says, how can you tell which feelings are yours and which are other people's when you're always in a group or family setting? I love this question. This is such a good question. So a really good way to tell which feelings are yours and which are other people's is to check in with your third chakra. So if you're familiar with chakras, then you know what that is. If not, your chakra, there are 7 chakras that go along your spine from the crown of your head to the very base of your spine. And they align with the energies. They're like the energy organs of your body. And your third chakra is the third from the bottom, and it is right underneath your rib cage, like where your diaphragm is, that helps you breathe. So and it's called the solar plexus chakra because that's the part of your body where it lives. And it is a chakra that helps you to know about boundaries and about personal energy versus other people's energy. So if you're having some emotions or some physical sensations and you don't know if they're yours or other people's, put your hand on your third chakra area, which is again right below your rib cage. Take a breath to center yourself and just ask yourself, is this mine? And see what comes up for you. So it's going to be different for different people, like what might happen when you do that. Like I oftentimes hear something, it's kind of like my own thoughts, but it's a little bit different. And I know it's coming from my angels or guides. Or I'll just have this sense of peace in my body. Sometimes I'll get some kind of a flash of an image. Those are all different ways that empaths receive intuitive information. So whatever comes up, just be open to it and just notice how it makes you feel and see if it gives you relief of any sort. If you feel better when you do that, if you have a headache and you go, is this mine? And your headache feels a little better, it's probably not yours. And just by asking that question, you are like distancing yourself from it a little bit. So hopefully that makes sense. That's what I suggest. Put your hand in your third chakra, take a breath, go, is this mine? And it's funny that that's a very, very simple thing to do, but sometimes it's hard to get in the habit of doing it. So you might want to sometimes it helps me to set a reminder on my phone that just could pop up and say, is this mine? So I remember to start asking myself those things. So I think that's a really good way to check in with your own emotions and detach from other people's emotions and just to get more clarity, because I think that actually just doing that helps you to detach a little bit, because you get a boundary and you get clarity and you go, oh no, this isn't mine. All right, let it go. So hopefully that helps with that. If you have more questions about that too, you can always message me in the group. I definitely could talk more about that for sure. All right, so let's see if there's any more questions for us for today. We might wrap this one up for now. Looks like those are all the pre-submitted questions I have for today. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about the Confident Empath community, where we do calls like this every other Tuesday, and you're able to submit questions. And I think I created it because, like I said, I had that time in my life where I completely stopped developing my empath skills and working on my energy boundaries and all of that. I just had no support and I completely stopped, and I got really depressed, and it was like the most depressed I've ever been, and it was horrible. And I don't want that to happen to you guys. I want you guys to be able to keep going with this on an ongoing basis and have support and ask questions, and just, you know, as new things come up, to have somewhere to go to check in with me and the other people in the community. So that's why I created it. And so how we do that is we have a separate Facebook group. It's way smaller. I spend a lot more time in there. So when things come up, you're able to check in with me and the other empaths in there to get more feedback in a more focused way, because it's a lot smaller than the Empath Oasis group. And also the other two things that go along with that, like I said, we do this Q&A like this. So same thing, you can pre-submit questions if you can't make it live, or you can come live and then we can have a little bit more of a dialogue when you're here live. But either way, you know, the angels send you what you need to know. And we do that twice a month. And then once a month, we're going to be doing a workshop. So there were several things that came up here that I feel like I could have talked about a lot more. Like, for example, knowing when energy is yours and not yours. And then, so I think I talked about that a little bit, but then like the next step is what to do about that, right? So that's like a big topic that I could definitely do a whole hour-long workshop on, but members of the community get to choose what the topics are going to be. So if you're interested in the community, you can check it out. It costs $44 a month. So it's way cheaper than if you were to get a one-on-one reading with me, which is $200 for 1 hour, or you can pay $44 a month for however many months you want. You can cancel whenever you want. And you can have the twice a month calls and the Facebook group and just a lot more ongoing support for a lot less cost. Plus, I'm offering for anybody who watches the replay of this, and Lori who's here live, tomorrow night is one of our Q&A calls, which is, like I said, is similar to this setup. And for anybody who joins before tomorrow night, I'm also offering a bonus of a 30-minute reading with me for free. So it's 30 minutes to talk about empaths, to talk about life purpose, to ask questions about money or family or romance or any of those things. And that's a $100 value that you get for free if you join the community before tomorrow night. And I'm talking about tomorrow night, like 8 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. New York time. So I'm going to be sending this out with a link to the sign-up page for Confident Empath Community. Feel free to reply to the email if you have any questions. It's delightvoss.com/CEC for Confident Empath Community, where you can find out more information. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks, Lori, for being here. I hope to see you more inside the Empath Oasis Facebook group, and have a great Monday. Bye.